How many of you have ever purchased a brand new vehicle and drove it off the lot only to find out 2 to 3 months, 4 months later that that vehicle had a defect? And to top it all off, you return back to the dealership you bought it from, and the dealership pretty much tells you that they're not going to reimburse you for the defect. Well, the problem is that there can be so many hidden defects in a brand new vehicle that you wouldn't know until the defect actually happened to hamper the operation of the vehicle. So I'm here to discuss with you one of those defects that can be hidden from you and you might not even know it. 3 to 4 months ago, we purchased a brand new Toyota Camry, and within 3 months, the low air indicator from the tires was coming on the dashboard, on the instrument panel. And I went to a gas station and I took out my pressure gauge and checked all 4 tires and found out that the left front one was low. It didn't alarm me at the time. I just said, well, air goes out of tires over time. So I put air in it, drove away. 2, 3, 4 hours later, the light still hadn't come on. Parked the car, and about an hour and a half, 2 hours later after dinner, came back out, turned the car on, and the low air indicator light was back on. I then thought for a minute, I said, well, maybe I didn't put enough air in there. I checked it after I put the air in there with the pressure gauge, but I still wasn't sure. I said, give it the benefit of the doubt. I'll go back just to check. So I put air back in it, put the valve stem cap back on, and drove home. Went to bed, woke up the next day, got in the car, turned the car on, and the low indicator light was back on. So I immediately took it to a local Toyota dealership, not the same one I bought it from. This one was a lot closer for me. And after inspection of the tire, the service manager came up to me and said, sir, there is a patch in that tire, and we can't repair it because the patch is in a location that no patch should be placed. And I said, well, this is a brand new car and that's a brand new tire, so how could it be patched unless the dealership did it or Toyota did it at the factory? So are you going to put a new tire on there and it's going to be free for me, right? And the service manager said, well, you'll have to bring it to the dealership you bought it from, which makes sense. I was good with that. So I knew that I had to get a tire on there before I brought it over there. So I went to Discount Tire because after talking with that service manager at that Toyota place, I saved $100 on the tire by purchasing it through Discount Tire. Don't ask me that craziness. I then came home, sent a Facebook message to the dealership I bought the car from and an email. I never received an email reply, but I did receive a Facebook message back 2 weeks after I sent the first one. And they told me to contact my salesman, the one who sold me the car. And they also wanted to talk to me, and I had no idea who even sent the message, so I couldn't talk to anybody except for the salesman once I got there. But I ended up going into the Toyota dealership, talked to my salesman. He referred me over to the sales director, not the sales director, the parts and service director, who informed me that they were not going to do anything about the issue because the plug that was put in the tire was not a plug that they would have used. I then asked him, I said, well, this car left the dealership with that plug in the tire. It's irrelevant who put it there. It left your dealership with that. Well, to make a long story short, he said that he was going to contact the general manager and ask him what he should do about it. Well, 2 weeks later, he asked me to send me an email message right away to remind him, so I did. So he would talk to the general manager. I never received a reply from him. So 2 weeks later, I sent him another one asking for an update. He replied the next day and told me the general manager declined my request and said that the tire issue was pretty much on me, on my back. So at that point, I was pretty frustrated. I was livid to be exact. But I decided that I was going to contact Toyota because I'm a long time Toyota fan. I own nothing but Toyotas. And I knew that they were going to take care of this problem just because of my service with them all these years. They can show all the purchases I've ever had. And after being on the phone for 45 minutes, the rep comes back and tells me that because I was a director of service and parts, that they were siding with that manager, that director, and that I would not be receiving the money that I was requesting for the tire that I purchased from Discount Tire. But on Toyota's part, they did give me a $250 certificate for any service or any part that I was going to have done in the future on that car. So it did weigh, really and truly it weighed better for what they did, because they gave me $250, whereas the tire cost me $184. Well, most people will say, well, if you get your vehicle serviced through them, they charge like double anyway. Well, it's $250 free no matter which way you look at it. So I could have got a tire for $250, or I could have got service for $250. But the main point behind this video is the fact that there's hidden things going on out there that we may not know of. And how do we check it? Well, here's my thoughts on that. Whenever I bought a vehicle in the past, buying that vehicle was always on my time. The next time I purchase a vehicle, no matter what dealership, no matter what brand, it's going to be on their time. Because I will not leave the dealership without knowing that all 4 of those tires don't have plugs in them. So they will take the tires off. I will inspect them, make sure that they go back on those same rims, and make sure that they go back on the car that I'm purchasing. Because that's just craziness. But it's protecting you. And at the same time, the dealership shouldn't have a problem with it, because you're really protecting them. Because now they have nothing to say. They can write that down and say, he inspected it, or she inspected it, and it's a done deal. So now if you get a flat, but I can guarantee you that if you go to a dealership, which I've done many times too, you'll see nails all over in the parking lot. So I can't see where it wouldn't be a bonus for you to do this anyway. Anyway, I hope that this video kind of gave you an idea or informed you a little bit about some of the hidden problems that we have. What I would really like for this video to do is to start getting people listing what's happened in their cases, so we have a place to turn to, so people can lodge those complaints on that video and say, I had the same thing happen, and then I'll respond to them and I'll say, why don't you do a video, shoot it on over, put it on YouTube, whatever. Because we have to protect ourselves. That's what the bottom line comes down to. We have to protect ourselves. So I hope that this does start some type of trend. And if it does, good. If it doesn't, well, I hope it did something for your day. Anyway, I hope you have a great day, and thank you very much for watching.